In this video, we discuss about user-defined functions. A function that is defined by the programmer is called as user-defined function. The syntax for user-defined function is return type followed by function name and arguments list, and it contains body of the function. This is the simple syntax of a user-defined function. Now we see an example. Here, sum is the function name. Integer is the return type of the function, and there are two arguments here, a comma b. Both are type integer. Now these come under arguments list, and this is the code of the function. This is a simple example of a user-defined function. A user-defined function contains return type followed by function name, and it contains arguments. Here the arguments list is optional. That means a function can take arguments and a function cannot take arguments also. That means we can pass arguments to the function, and in some cases there is no need to pass arguments to the function. It depends upon the application we are writing. So simply what we are saying here, a function can take arguments and it is optional. Then coming to the return type. Now what the return type of a function says? The return type says that after completing the function, what type of value it is going to return. A function can return integer value, a function can return float value, etc. A function can return any data type value. Similarly, a function can return a user-defined data type value also. But in some cases, if a function doesn't want to return any value, then we need to specify void data type. Void. That means if we specify void in the return type of a function, that indicates that that function doesn't return any value. That means that function is not going to return any value. Now you see this particular example. Here there is a function 1 is the function name, and it is not taking any arguments, and the return type of the function is integer. That means at the end of this function it must return an integer value. Now observe here, it is returning 10. 10 is the integer. How does a function return value? It returns value by using keyword return. Here return is the keyword. By using the return keyword, a function returns a value. Now what is the point here? The return type of one function is integer. That means at the end of the one function it must return an integer value. Now if we take another example, float 2. 2 is the function name and float is the return type. That means at the end of the float function it must return a floating point value. Now observe here, it is returning a floating point value. Coming to third example, char 3. 3 is the function name. Its return type is char. That means at the end of 3 function it must return a character value. That's why it is returning a character value plus. Coming to fourth example, void 4. Here 4 is the function name and its return type is void. That means this function is not going to return any value. That's why we have not used return keyword at the end of this particular function. If a function returns a value, then we need to specify what type of value it returns at the return type of the function. If a function doesn't return a value, then we need to specify void data type. That means we need to specify void keyword. Now we see some points. A function returns value to its calling function. The calling function is also called as caller. A function returns value using keyword return. We are using the keyword return in order to pass a value, in order to send a value. Next point, a function that doesn't return a value to its caller is also called as void function. Now see this example. Out of these 4 functions, which function is not returning value to its caller? That is 4 function. This function is not returning any value to its calling function. Now 4 function is called as void function. 4 function is called as void function. Now we see another case. What is the default return type of a function in a C language? That means in some cases, suppose if we don't write any return type, if we don't specify any return type, then automatically the compiler assumes that integer is the default return type of a function in C language. Now see this example. There is one function. We didn't specify any return type here. Then if we write program, then we get compilation error. We get compilation error. Why? Because the default return type is integer, then it must return an integer value at the end of this function. Now if we take another example here, again the same function 1, here also the return type is not specified, but at the end of this function it is returning a value 1. 1 indicates that it is an integer value. That means the default return type is integer, and also at the end of the function it is returning integer value. Now this particular code is correct and we will not get any compilation error. The point here is, if a function doesn't return a value, then we must specify the void data type in the return type place. Otherwise we need to specify its corresponding data type value.